Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Link podcast. I'm your host, Lebby. And of course, as always, I'm here with my friend Elmer.
Heyo.
Today, we're going to be talking about Tomb Raider. Of course, the movie starring Angelina Jolie. But first, what were you up to this week, Elmer? How was your week?
My week was fine enough. Full work week and stuff like that. So days kind of rolling into days and whatnot. But yeah, no, your average day of a pawnbroker. How about yours, my HR representative friend?
It was pretty good. I just did adult things like went to a doctor appointment and stuff, but I uh I had some time to play some Final Fantasy 14 and gosh, what did I watch? I watched something that I thought you would enjoy. Oh, that's what it was. Zack Stone is going to be famous, starring Bo Burnham. I watched that this week and uh it was at times a little slow, but overall hilarious. If you like Bo Burnham, you got to check it out.
Well, my question was going to be with your checkup at the doctor, whether or not you got poked in the ass, and then considering you said you played Final Fantasy 15 and watched a Bo Burnham movie, yes, I would say you did get a good old fashioned finger up the poop chute.
Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, it wasn't always like a romp and a riot, but it was always like just enough ridiculous stuff, like Bo Burnham stuff happening, where I really enjoyed it.
The joy of Bo Burnham.
Yeah, let's see. Did I do anything else? I built a couple keyboards for my partner and I,
That is right.
which this is one of them here. Um, I had a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's just been real busy at work lately, just trying to finish up all the tasks for the end of the year and start 2022 off on the right foot. So hopefully in the next few weeks I will have a little bit more free time. So yeah, but anyway, Tomb Raider. I guess I want to start off before I start talking about the game. I do want to mention that this is almost dropped my laptop there. This is a movie that I watched often as a kid, and I think especially my mom was a fan of this movie, so I watched it a few times growing up, and I was kind of excited to watch it again today because it's been well over a decade. Um, but yeah, we'll get into my thoughts and feelings on it a little bit later. 1 second here, just gotta do something.
Who's on here tonight?
Yeah, we got some people in chat that I really need to give some attention to.
Well, hey, if they're in chat and they're watching us right now, let's see if I can get this knot buttoned up a little bit higher. I'm just speaking of the boss of the yard. Damn right, they're better than yours. People that are not watching this, get your ass on the fucking YouTube after the fact. Phew.
Yeah, for all you audio listeners, I apologize that you're not seeing this, but tonight Elmer and I are in costume.
Somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we all dressed as the sexiest archaeologist possible, or of our childhood? And apparently, we had two different trains of thought on that. He is currently sitting next to me, dressed as Indiana Jones, Copacabana style. And I am currently sporting an OG Lara Croft costume. And I feel slightly betrayed. Simultaneously, we don't know which of the two of us is gayer right now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like technically, I guess we're both right, but in our own ways, it is just as gay as the other.
It's even more right
It's so wrong, it's right. No, no. So yeah, let me get into the game here. Gotta give someone else a little bit of love here. All right. So Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider started out as a video game series. Of course, it's turned into a lot more than that by this point. It was created by a British company called Core Design, which they were formerly owned by Eidos Interactive, which is kind of convenient that that comes up 2 episodes in a row. And then it was later owned by Square Enix Europe when they bought Eidos out. Um, so the franchise it focuses on a British archaeologist named Lara Croft.
Sorry. Lara Croft.
Lara Croft. Lara Croft.
Sorry, I should have a We Hate Movies episode on the correct pronunciation of Lara Croft before we started. So we were both still going Lara Croft to each other.
Yeah, it's great. So she travels the world searching for lost artifacts and treasure, in tombs and ruins. She's part of a rich family, but is very intelligent, athletic, and fluid in multiple languages. She's determined to fulfill her goals at any cost. So there's like a lot of action and exploration and puzzle solving and stuff in these games, which kind of made it really popular. The game released in 1996, but the development began in 1994. And like I said earlier, it's kind of really convenient that we're talking about an Eidos game again after Hitman last week. It's like in the mid to late 90s, Eidos was just really killing it. Yes, Elmer.
So I'm trying to freak out anybody who's watching. It's making it seem like my set of screen is just glitching out the entire time. So no, continue.
The creator of Lara's character, Toby Gard, he originally envisioned the main character as a man, but the company's co-founder, Jeremy Heath Smith, was worried that the character would be seen as an Indiana Jones ripoff. So they swapped the gender, but they still went through multiple revisions during development. So that brings me to this rumor. So if you aren't aware already, like the Lara Croft character design from the original Tomb Raider games, she has big triangle boobies, much like my friend Elmer here.
Yes.
And there's a rumor going around that the iconic cone boobs started out as a mistake during the design process. Whether that mistake was a slip of the mouse or a mistype, the popular story is that there was a typo which made her breast size 150% instead of 100%. But unfortunately, this isn't true. Sorry to break it to you, Elmer. Toby Gard, Lara's character developer or creator, he did make a joke about this idea in an interview in 1997, which is how the rumor became even more popular. The interview was with a fashion magazine called The Face, and he
the
was
face or on the face?
The Face, Elmer. He was asked about Laura's unfeasibly large knockers. Gosh, the 90s were great.
No, they weren't. But dear God, in hindsight, that's fucking hilarious.
So Guard's reply was kind of like mockingly this foundation for this accidental story. But 24 years later, he was interviewed again, and he said, of course, it was all a joke. Indeed, the answers from that interview, which was one of my first interviews, they were all entirely flippant. I tried to make them all so ludicrous that no one would believe them. I mean, there are undo functions, right? So even at the time, I thought it was outrageous that an interviewer would be asking questions about boobs, and I didn't think that it dignified a proper answer. But of course, I didn't know at the time that sarcasm doesn't read well on a page, and so that and other insane statements from that interview became enduring myths.
Well, also, pal, you're British, and last time I checked, the British, it's hard to understand when they're being sarcastic or not. So
Yes.
You know what?
Sarcasm
It's
is
still
not
on you there, pal.
Yeah. So yeah, I had definitely heard that rumor for a long time, but turns out it's not true, which is kind of sad because it is pretty funny.
But still, at the same time, you look at those things, you're like, people masturbated to that back in the past.
um, I mean, are you really surprised? Like people will do anything to anything.
Yeah, I know. We
I
grew up during
mean,
the Pokemon generation. Yeah, the people will masturbate to
have you seen the
anything.
green M&M? Like seriously, they gotta do what they can to make anything sell.
I hate that both one, you're able to make that reference, and two, not only do I understand it, I know exactly that someone out there is definitely doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, anyway, back to the game. It uses its own game engine that they created for Tomb Raider. Because other game engines at the time that were available in 1994, they weren't really anything special. And this was one of the earlier 3D games. So at the time, most 3D games were like shooters, like Doom and stuff. And so they really wanted to bring representation to other genres. But being 3D made it hard to implement things like AI and camera control, which the camera control especially is kind of like a weak point in the first game. But one great thing they did is they had multi-layered levels, which other equivalent games at the time only had single floor levels. So this really helped like Lara's movement, like going up and down and across. Like it really made it feel more exploratory, I guess. Also, the movements made by Laura were hand animated and coordinated instead of using motion capture. They did this to create uniformity in her movement, which wasn't really an option with motion capture at the time. So to make everything like kind of line up with each other and look real good, which I think they did a pretty good job.
Well, considering the fact actually the motion capture for most of the moves Laura is able, or sorry, Lara is able to do in those games, dear God, you have to be beyond an Olympic level gymnast at that point. It's just with how she's able to bounce off every single wall and oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
it gets nuts. Like I remember playing the original. I think I played the first two games. I never finished them because I was real young, but I remember playing them on the PlayStation 1. But especially the newer games that have been continuing on. I think the first one came out in like 2013 or something of this new series. They're great. I've played a lot of them. I own a lot of them. I really enjoy them. Um, but yeah, I have played these old ones. It just wasn't anything I can really remember. I remember like fighting tigers like on a snowy mountain and riding a snowmobile and stuff. But I was real little, so but this game was so successful that not only did it save Eidos Interactive from a bleak financial situation, but also Core Design, the studio behind it, they decided to develop a new Tomb Raider game every year, which sounds like a terrible idea because it is. They made it 4 years with that model before the staff was so burnt out and it really started to show, eventually resulting in the sixth game in the series called The Angel of Darkness. It faced a lot of difficulties during development and was really just kind of a failure of a game, both commercially and just as like a playable game. It really wasn't good. So this is when Eidos gave the development duties to Crystal Dynamics instead of Core Design, who they are still developing the games to this day. And Tomb Raider has obviously gone to develop film adaptations, comics, novels, the works. It's considered one of the pioneers of the action adventure game genre. While Lara Croft has become one of the most recognizable video game protagonists, as well as pioneering female characters in video games, even though her sex appeal was like pretty much the entire marketing campaign, as you can see by Oliver's costume. Um, so Laura, it's kind of an interesting story about Lara Croft, because she kind of like blew up. Like there weren't really many female protagonists in games.
I mean,
There's
even at that point, I mean, because you said 94, right?
Yeah, 94 is when it began development.
Because even then, I mean, the whole concept that Samus was actually a woman, I mean, if you didn't beat the certain ending of the original Metroid, you
Nobody
never
knew.
would have known that.
Yeah.
Known that.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy how she blew up. And I mean, like women aren't really main protagonists in games these days. Of course, it's a lot more common, but back in the 90s, definitely uncommon. So it was really cool to kind of see that. Um, she was on the cover of a British culture magazine called The Face again, that same magazine, um, which they had only previously put on real life celebrities, like on the covers of their magazines. So, like, first video game character on their magazine. She was also used in Irish rock band U2's Pop Mart tour, which was basically just mocking consumerism and pop culture, which is pretty ironic because it's U2. Like,
You two using fucking Tomb
iTunes.
Raider
Yeah.
to talk about pop culture.
Yeah, they had these big screens on the stage, like flashing images and video clips and stuff from pop culture, and like kind of poking fun at consumerism and stuff. But it's like you're YouTube. Like in a few years from now, you're gonna be forcing your albums onto every iPod ever purchased.
I have an iPhone, or I've got an iPod video from 2008. How the hell did I get their newest album on here?
Yeah. So Lara Croft was also inducted into the Walk of Game in 2006, and she's earned multiple mentions in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most successful human video game heroine.
Hold on. Did you say the Walk of Game?
Yes. It's like the Hall of Fame.
Or the Walk of Fame as well?
Yeah.
Okay, where is this?
I am not sure. We can find out. Let's see.
Because I'm sorry, if they have supposedly fake handprints of video game characters,
So it's not a thing anymore. The Walk of Game was an attraction in the U.S. honoring the icons and pioneers of the video game industry. Created in 2005, she was featured in 2006. It was located inside the Sony Metreon, which was an entertainment shopping center in San Francisco. Yeah, looks like it only lasted like 2 years, 2005 and 2006.
well, congratulations.
Which, okay, so the only people or the only game characters in the Walk of Game were Mario, Link, Sonic the Hedgehog, Master Chief, StarCraft, Lara Croft, Final Fantasy, EverQuest. So yeah, and that's it. So kind of short lived, but she was indicted into the Walk of Game.
About as many people walked on the moon as were indicted into the Walk of Game. So you know what? I'd call that an accomplishment.
Yeah, she was like I said earlier, she was also mentioned in the Guinness Book of World Records multiple times. Once as the most successful human video game heroine, and later in 2010 earned 6 more awards. To which the Guinness editor Gaz Dieves said that the character epitomizes all that's great about video gaming. I mean, like, think about it. She's intelligent, badass chick who's super tough. In contrast to other video game characters at the time, like Princess Peach and stuff, like nobody was doing what Tomb Raider was doing. So obviously it became huge. It's a huge commercially viable video game series now, and Man, I'm just so glad that we grew up with Eidos Interactive.
As someone who was a massive fan of the Thief series, yes, Eidos was kicking ass. And as he said earlier, this was the actual game that helped to put Eidos on the map through the 1990s, from 1994, because they were fledgling at the time. To think that, oh yes, they were able to recover, rebuild, and see us through straight to Daikatana. That is all we could ever ask for. And then there was Thief 4.
I can only hope that we can tell the full story of Daikatana one of these days, because it is a doozy.
John Romero's about to make you his bitch.
Oh man.
No. That'd be like an actual an actual Hell's Angels biker getting off his bike, walking towards you, tripping over his own boot heel, and then shitting his pants on impact with the ground. Is what Daikatana did.
Yeah, it did not end up great. But yeah, and what'd you find out about the movie, Elmer?
Oh lordy. So
Oh boy.
pretty much as soon as this game hit the shelves back in the mid 90s there.
96?
Well, I was going to say, depending upon which release you got, either if you played it on the computer or if you played it on the consoles and stuff like that. Like you said, you played it on the consoles, correct?
Yeah, I played it on PS1. Yep.
I was a PC kid growing up for most of it, so no, I grew up playing it on the actual PC, which is about late 96, early 97, which is when we got our hands on it. Pretty much since the game actually started beating blockbuster sales on every console, there has been, in one way or another, a screenplay in the works trying to get this turned into a film. I mean, since Spielberg and Lucas basically turned the idea of a globe-trotting archaeologist, hence what you're dressed as right now, they put that concept on the map as being ways that you can just print money. At that point, everybody's been trying to replicate that. May it have been canon with the Alan Quartermain movies. May it have been Disney when they tried their hand at the National Treasure films. Everybody like that. They thought to themselves, "Oh, easy to do. Guy running around old, junky-looking tombs looking for lost treasures. Bam, we got ourselves a movie." And then Tomb Raider, motherfucking Tomb Raider of all things, is what proves to be the acceptance of the rule. But then again, when you do have somebody who is jumping around doing, Olympic level gymnastic moves with a pair of 36 double Ds, I mean, come on.
Oh man, and that's one thing. I don't know if it's the strong point or the weak point of these movies is the ridiculous action that happens in like every scene. Like there's that scene where she's like suspended from a rope in the ceiling of her mansion, and she's like running along the walls like sideways, and it's just so generic cliche, but like when I was a kid, man, that was so badass.
We should mention we're both on the cusp of 30 at this point. So no, when this movie came out 20 years ago, we were 10 years old, actually.
Yeah. Well, some of us on the cusp, some of us past the cusp.
Yeah. It's not wrong. But, no. Anyway, so with this film, they had a bunch of different directors and writers going through there. Unfortunately, looking at the evidence of it, and this really hurts to say, every single version of the script involves some amount of fan service, sexuality to the character.
Go figure.
When it's like, okay, we understand the character was basically designed from the ground up to be a sexualized icon, but at the same time, you guys don't have to be that really blatant about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, if they would have made a movie that was in terms of like the same level of like archaeological actiony fun that were the Indiana Jones films, and hell, actually have it be a female character, it probably would have been a lot of fun. But no, they decided, hey, let's sexualize her out the wing wang or out the straight out the ass.
Yeah, it's like through the entire movie. It's like she's, always in a tank top and booty shorts, and sometimes she's coming out of a pool, and sometimes she's taking a shower, and sometimes she's, it's
Funny
never
enough, there's only one sequence in this that she's in booty shorts. Apparently, Jolie fought tooth and nail through the production of most of it, going, I will not be in goddamn booty shorts through the entirety of this film. And as somebody who is currently wearing booty shorts right now, all I'm going to say is, I kind of understand it, but at the same time, I mean, it is still about 63 degrees here, and I mean, I'm comfy.
Please don't do that. You might get us banned from Twitch.
Don't worry, Twitch filters. My fly was zipped, I think.
Yeah. And this was back when Jolie was like peak sexual icon, like peak popularity.
I mean, this was right after Go, after her, I guess I should say, her actual Academy Award winning turn on Go was. On top of that, kind of the interesting thing about this, so the guy who directed this, Simon West, is the person who gave us the masterpiece that is Con Air from 1997, which I have always contended it was a secret Michael Bay film. Upon rewatch of this for the first time in about 10 years as well, I can concede, you know what? Maybe quite not as much Michael Bay as I originally saw. I could see a little bit more of the fun, somewhat playfulness in this, more so than a Michael Bay film.
Yeah, I mean, much like a lot of these early video game movies, it's like, like a teenage boy's wet dream.
I mean, Angelina Jolie in this does fight a Bionicle in the very beginning of
Yeah.
it. And
Very first start of the movie, like right away, she's in the fight with this Bionicle robot. So it's just, I mean, this movie doesn't even take itself seriously, but in a way, it kind of works.
it does work. I mean, every step of the way this film is, it just seems like they're just pushing it. Maybe not quite edgelord territory, but enough that you're just like, wait, where is this edging towards?
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of having a hard time, is because I know I was a fan of this when I was growing up, and now rewatching it, I'm not sure how to feel about it. It wasn't good, but it was also very nostalgic, and it was still it's supposed to be the cool, like, badass late 90s movie, which it does well. But yeah, it just didn't like hit like it did when I was a kid. Obviously, nothing really will, but
But then again, we both talked about this earlier, that this is probably the first film in this entire series that we've done that we both saw in theaters as kids.
yeah. Yep. This was a big movie at my house when I was a kid.
So now imagine that. You have the nostalgia factor behind it of you eating, cookie dough bites, sitting in the movie theater there, eating that while drinking a blueberry slushy or whatever the fuck they call
that
it over
blue
at
raspberry?
GTI. The blue raspberry slushy.
Fuck me up, son.
I can feel my pancreas shutting down in anticipation over that one.
Yeah, but I loved this movie when I was growing up, and I remember seeing the second and third movie in the series as well, but I don't remember them as much as this one. So
When third movie?
yeah, wasn't there three? There was there only two? Well, fuck me up, son. My bad. I thought there was three for some reason. Well, maybe that's just because I downloaded three.
The third one just came out a few years back.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
But at the same time, I could still understand the confusion because, I mean, dear God, we are in a lawless time when it comes to, movie studios going, hey, let's just throw our IP to the wind and see what the fuck sticks.
Well, especially like late 90s, early 2000s, it was like, we'll try anything, you know? Studios didn't care. Just, I want to make this movie, so it's going to happen within 2 years, whether you like it or not.
Batman made us $500 million goddamn dollars. Let's see what else we can use for IP.
Yep. So let's talk about the movie a bit. Obviously, it starts out with a fight scene with a robot, which is just like, I guess, her training. Like I said before, she's part of a super rich family, but she's also very educated and smart and stuff, which, like, I don't really get. Like, if you're that rich, like, go have fun, you know? Like, don't crawl
Well, that's
around
where
in
they're
tombs.
having the fun, is instilling that long tradition of imperialism. Well, they go to these other countries, they show themselves as being friendly, and then they whip out high-powered firearms, and they go, I'm taking this now. Goodbye. So, you know what? Tomb raiding is entirely part of the blood of being a rich aristocrat from
guess.
European society.
I guess, but like the whole thing is like her and everyone she knows, like, they run this big like spy gear operation type thing where everyone's trained in combat. Even the butler has guns at one point, and it's just like ridiculous action. Something about Illuminati and stuff. Like, nothing really happens. Like, a lot of stuff is happening like during the first like 3/4 of the movie, but it's just kind of all pointlessly building up to like the big scene where they get into the tomb, they find the mystical treasure and whatever. So the middle of the movie, while having important story details, is really the worst part. But eventually, I mean, like, it's this whole thing with the Illuminati being involved and stuff, and I mean, there's shirtless Daniel Craig.
Shirtless and pantless.
There is that. So no complaints there.
On top of that, I guess I should mention where we talked about in the beginning of it, you get to see just sort of the lavish lifestyle that Lara Croft actually lives. Her butler is played by Christopher Barry of Red Dwarf fame. You know, good old Arnold Rimmer being the full stick up the ass of society that everybody loves as a satire. And then, of all people, playing the technical nerd at her compound is Dexter Fletcher from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels fame, as well as Doom, later episode. Pinky from that one. And for everybody at home keeping score, Dexter Fletcher is now a 2-time Academy Award winner for both films as the ghost director of Bohemian Rhapsody, without the likes of Bryan Singer, as well as Rocket Man with Taron Egerton playing Elton John, which you're just like, wait, this movie stars a 2-time Academy Award winner?
Guess so. But yeah, this movie, I mean, at the end was kind of fun again, but it's where it got ridiculous. Which, I mean, it did have a lot of good actors and stuff, so it was really trying to be good, but it just, I don't know, it got close, I guess.
No, this movie did not try to be good at any point. This movie decided to go, you know those Indiana Jones films, how, you know, it only gets supernatural in like the last 3/4 to like, you know, 9/10 of it? No. We're going to go supernatural about halfway through that. Great idea, right?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, the whole movie, it's like time travel and the Illuminati and like world power and like this whole thing.
More or less, it's like History Channel after about 10 o'clock on a Saturday
Yeah.
night.
When they take an old picture like from 150 years ago and they just draw a UFO in the corner and they go, look, it's proof of aliens. But yeah, no, there was like time travel and a bunch of stuff. Like, the end of the movie was, I think, the most ridiculous, where like she jumps into some vortex and, God, no, what was it? She threw something into some vortex and it like helped her like freeze time, and she was able to grab like a knife that was being thrown in midair and like turn it to hit someone else instead, and like just
Troll physics.
yeah, because this is how time and physics work.
I'm gonna stop Daniel James Bond Craig from being stabbed by turning the knife around thrown by Ian, dude from Game of Thrones, Glenn, and just be like, you know what? Let's see what happens. Although, just think, had they reversed those two roles, can you imagine that Ian Glenn guy playing James Bond and then Daniel Craig being in Game of Thrones? But then again, I don't think he's seen in a single episode of Game of Thrones.
I've seen the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
I've only seen the first 4 episodes, so you know what? We're on the same track right there.
Yeah, I can see why people like it, but personally, sorry everyone, not a show for me.
Neither me, so.
All right. But yeah, so the movie kind of just ends with no real. I mean, like, yeah, they get the treasure, whatever. They save their friend. Whoopee, end of the movie. It really just ends pretty abruptly.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of the one thing with having Simon West on this. I'm kind of glad we decided to, you know what, let's just talk about the movie itself in the sense that it has nothing to do with any of the games or anything like that. Because, in all honesty, you know, I've joked for years that Simon West, who his most famous movie he probably directed was Con Air, which is a favorite of mine. And that movie feels like it was actually made by Michael Bay, and then they just slapped Simon West's name on top of it, so that way, you know, Bay was out of like a DGA contract or something like that. But no, this movie is mostly kind of forgettable, I hate to say.
Yeah, it as much as I watched these movies when I was a kid, I thought I would remember more of it. I didn't really remember any of it, and it's not a movie that I mean, I'm sure it's someone's favorite movie, but you know
every film is someone's first movie, and every movie is also somebody's favorite movie. I hate to say it. So
yeah, it's nothing special though.
You know, the production of the movie is a little more interesting than the actual film itself. While going through development hell and stuff like that, one of the producers who got picked up on it was Angelina Jolie, actually, just because she kind of enjoyed the idea of like a strong heroic character like that, and just because her name started to have a little bit more clout going along. And it actually wasn't until later into production that, or I should say, once they started getting a script put into place, that Jolie realized, you know, maybe I would make a good character for this. Yeah. And she decided, you know what, maybe let's get into this. She actually did go through a large acrobatic as well as yoga-based actual training schedule for this. Along with that, she did weightlifting and training, as well as getting associated with weapons and stuff like that via the SAS, which they make a reference to that during the film itself. But that pales in comparison to the fact that the film production company were greatly disturbed at the fact that Angelina Jolie is only a 36C and not the full-on 36 double D of the original character. And because of which, they met in the middle contractually that they'd only pad her bra out to a 36D, so that way she fit more of the bill of the character. And it's just like, you see, this is why I stopped working in film.
Isn't it sad that they went through all this work, they had to do all this training for the movie to just still end up as this super cliche, like, not very well choreographed action movie.
I think it's even sadder to think that then, 15, 16 years later, they released the reboot to it with Alicia Vikander, who is about as flat as I am.
Well, yeah, they did reduce her breast size for the new games.
No. I'm talking about. No, I'm just saying though is that. Well, okay, yeah, I'll know what I'm saying at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but the new movie, the new Tomb Raider, is one I haven't seen, but
neither have I. So we're on the same page. So we've got 2 more Tomb Raiders to go.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch the second one, we might have to
It's
watch.
better than this, I promise.
We might have to watch the. Well, I've seen the second one, just not in a very long time. We might have to watch the new one before we can do that one, because I haven't seen it and I've heard kind of good things. So
Well, I'm gonna apologize now. We might have to make a quick pause in the actual episode. I gotta run and pee.
okay, all right,
Sorry, camera people.
it's all right. All right, here we go. Elmer's back.
Sorry about that, guys. Ugh.
Yeah.
And for the break that'll probably be in the audio recording version of the episode, my apologies for the good quarter second of actual silence on there as I ran to go potty.
No worries, no worries. We'll edit it out. So yeah, the movie was okay, I guess. You know.
Now here's a question for you. Because one of the top contenders to actually play the character of Lara Croft. Because originally, Jolie only wanted to be a producer. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I mean, they're willing to pad Angelina Jolie for that.
Which somehow they still got her nipping the entire time.
We were perplexed the entire time. I mean, as much as the characters were trying to solve the puzzle of the end of the world or whatever the fuck was going on in this, we were going, how is she still nipping? But no, originally one of the first choices for the character of Lara Croft was supposed to be Liv Tyler.
Oh, I could see that.
However, here's the thing though. What nationality is Lara Croft?
British.
What is the one accent Liv Tyler is notorious for not being able to do?
Well, as we'll find out in Lord of the Rings, not too long after this movie.
The same year as this movie.
Yeah.
Now let's put it this way. I love Liv Tyler. I really do. Do you know what's one thing that I don't love? Her accent in all of the Lord of the Rings films.
Yeah.
And now while people can get mad at us for saying this, keep this in mind. What are the two things you don't remember from the Lord of the Rings? Number one is you don't remember your love for Viggo Mortensen's accent as Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings. Two, you don't remember how much you love Liv Taylor's accent as Arwen in the Lord of the Rings. So, you know what? No. Look, I do love Liv Tyler, but no, I couldn't see her doing this. I hate to say it.
That's okay. I couldn't either, but I mean, it makes sense with casting Angelina Jolie. It makes sense what kind of
What they're going for.
yeah what they were going for.
Normally I don't like to read anything on this show. I like to just kind of go off the, top of the noggin sort of thing.
You're a lot better at that than I am, sir. That's for sure.
However, I have to read this because this is just a thing of beauty.
Oh boy.
So this is via IMDb, and this is you can hear the quote and you can kind of read for it what you'd like to read for it. According to Tomb Raider, I'm going to throw in my own actual grammatical corrections in this because Jesus Christ, these people would probably fail out a game of Scrabble at this point. According to the Tomb Raider chapter in the book, Tales from Development Hell, The Greatest Movies Never Made, by David Hughes, Simon West's director's cut of the film was 130 minutes long.
Oh my god.
But due to some problems they had with him during troubled production of the film, Paramount removed West from the film when it entered the post-production phase, and they brought in expert editor Stuart Baird, famous for fixing up movies if studios and producers weren't happy with them, to recut the entire film down to 80 minutes. Everything I just said up until then, I finally had a goddamn period. So I promise this isn't me reading this. This is just me reading whatever the hell this guy typed. Despite him not being involved in editing the final cut of the film, West did return to direct some reshoots. Due to all this, Post-production was rushed so much that reportedly some of the major effect shots were left incomplete by the time the movie was released in theaters.
I can see that.
Michael Kamen's director score from Director's Cut was also replaced with new score by Graham Ravel, and he had to compose 60 minutes of music inside only 10 days.
Jeez.
Ravel was actually producer's original choice for composer, and before him and Kamen, Greg Hale Jones was working on score, and Danny Elfman composed opening cue. However, cue was unused, and Jones was left go after he already did 40 minutes of score, which was all. Anyway, you guys
I'm
get.
about to have a stroke, dude. I'm about to have a fucking stroke.
Hey, I'm just reading what the hell that motherfucker wrote on IMDb. I'm just saying is, though, to think that this movie was originally 2 hours and 10 minutes long, I can kind of see it.
Still not as long as the new Matrix.
Don't get me started. Oh, don't get me started.
But yeah, that's crazy, man.
Let's just hack the movie to pieces and let the director sit in the back burner and go, hey.
They're like, you've done enough, sir. We'll fix it from here. But yeah, thank God this isn't over 2 hours long. I would do things to make sure I could never see this movie again.
You'd Pee Wee Herman in the theater?
I wouldn't do that, no.
I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat. Is that the last of your?
Pretty much can ask about just anything else. May have been Angelina Jolie's weapons training. May have been the fact that Daniel Craig to this day is just like, no, that is like the worst movie I've ever been in, and I was in the goddamn Golden Compass. A first aborted attempt.
Don't get me started on that train wreck. I hate that movie so much. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for Tomb Raider. Before we go, plugging the show is kind of the most awkward part, but for all you audio listeners, it would really help us out if you found us on YouTube, which we don't have enough yet to get our own URL, so if you just go to anchor.fm/game-link, you can find the link to our YouTube there. Any subscriptions or follows there, anything will definitely help us out. You can also find out where else to listen to us for audio versions. We're on pretty much everything. And then if you want to ask us questions, you can email us, thegamelinkpod@gmail.com. Or, come to the live streams. We normally try to start at 5 p.m. Central on Sundays, but I think we're going to be changing that time to 6, most likely from now on. We'll send you an update, but twitch.tv/Lebby on Sundays. We're live. And then, you can also ask us questions on Patreon, patreon.com/gamelink. We definitely want to hear from you and have some more engaging Q&As. So if you're interested, we would really appreciate that.
And once any of you on Patreon unlock the $100 level, that's when we're going to break out the GameLink OnlyFans page. Just keep that in mind for the future. And then you can drink even more of this in once we get into that.
See, this is the dangerous part. We don't have a $100 tier. But if we did, like, sarcastically make one to create an OnlyFans, as a joke, of course, eventually it would have to become a reality, which I'm just not prepared for. Thanks, Elmer. Well, on that note, we're going to end the podcast. We'll be doing our Q&A, so we still have to decide what to do next time on the Game Link, but we'll let that be a surprise for you audio listeners. So on that note, have a great week, everyone. We'll see you later.
So long, folks, and definitely check us out on YouTube, and also check out our friends over at Thor's Hour of Thunder. Y'all have a great week. Stay safe, stay sexy, and we'll think about something great for I don't know, gaminess next week.
All right.
Taste the gaminess.
God. Adios, everyone.